Ah, ah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for part number 2. Hello, welcome to part number 2. Where we, screw it. You know what? By the way, dear video editor, if you catch this, don't even have to edit it out. Look, sometimes the intros don't work. That's fine. We're just going to come back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Day 9 Daily Day 9 for 384 Part 2, where we learn to be a better gamer. We don't know how to do our video mixing. Whatever. The point is, we're exploring this idea of key moment analysis, where we find when interactions occur and find whether they're helping us or hurting us, what's working positively or negatively for us. I don't necessarily want to say finding key mistakes. I want to find key moments of interaction and see if they're positive or negative. Here's a difference. If we're only looking for mistakes, we're like, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? Ugh. But you'll miss out on things like, yeah, I ended up just kind of moving out, and I did this attack, and I didn't think it actually helped me. But I went back and looked, and it actually helped me a lot. I got to do that more. And then you end up loving yourself. You find the opposite of a mistake. An overlooked kick-ass moment. We want to find all of those. Now, the structure that we're going to do for parts 2 and 3 is it's going to be a little bit of ninja mode. We're going to be opening up a game of LiquidHerO against Nextream. And we're going to be blasting through it relatively quickly. And what I want you to do at home is I want you to watch this with me. We're probably going to go through the whole game in about 6-7 minutes. Even though it is a 21-minute game. And I want you just to write down all those key moments of interaction that you think were really key. And I don't mean necessarily all the little ones. I want to think big picture style, because we want to get rid of the big stuff first. For instance, as we saw in the hilarious Tristan game in part 1, there was a small, little, tiny key moment, which is we lost a stalker when we did a push right at the start. It's kind of a maybe small to medium misstep. We also had a pylon built in our base as Tristan. That's pretty big. Let's solve the big ones first, right? So we're going to think of these in terms of the big interactions. Start writing a lot of them down. I'll go through my usual strategy analysis, but of course, when I come back to you beautiful, wonderful viewers, I want to see your typing in the chat. We're going to begin by working from there. And of course, we're going to get the help of Notepad. Yeah! Here is where your stuff goes. Remember, we're looking for interactions. God, I'm so happy today. Alright, great. Wonderful. Oh, look at this wonderful probe scout. I love this map in Antigua Shipyard. It's so beautiful. I guess we'll just go through some usual commentary. Both players getting their cybernetics core up early. Blink Stalkers, always fairly good on this map. A little bit hard to defend everything properly with robotics facility play. Not that it's bad, but it's just a little bit hard. Will we be going for our second gas earlier? Given these huge distances, it looks like both players answer with a resounding yes. Looks like Nextream actually getting his gas a little bit earlier than OGS Heroes. Or excuse me, I should say LiquidHerO, who hangs out in the Liquid OGS house. Early second gateway. Ooh, early gateways 2 and 3. Okay, we're starting to see some differences go on. Here comes Hero. It looks like he's trying to do a little bit of scouting. They end up doing some pretty cool microing all about. And I'll just give you a hint. This is immediately where you'd say, hey, there was an interaction that looked maybe pretty bad for LiquidHerO. Where you can even see in that units lost tab. Like, wow. Holy crap. Alright. And LiquidHerO ends up repelling, planting the forward pylon. And per usual, I always see LiquidHerO do this kind of thing where he'll just go for it. He'll just gun right at you, try to figure out what's up. Non-stop Immortal production begins from Nextream, who also gets a Robotics Bay. Let me open up my production tab as well. OGS Hero doing the Blinkstalker Observer play, which I love so much. We're not actually seeing either player expand. In fact, it looks like Hero's doing this kind of some cool harassment stuff. Losing a few stalkers, but not necessarily losing his whole army. And it's at a time like this that you might note, wow, OGS Hero is very far behind in food. Did he do something right or wrong? Hero doing, I think, a very smart thing. And I'm not even trying to be all dodgy. You know, a lot of times I'll make statements that are like plants. I'll be like, is this good or not? And I actually have an answer in my head, and I'm posing the question to you, but this is not rhetorical. This is me straight up saying, with no facetiousness, this is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant move you should do a lot when going Blink Stalker, expand other mains, and play a counterattack style. Because this type of army can either hit your main or this base, but not both at the same time. So you can almost always go for the base trade and get a win with the Blink Stalker style. Some good Blink Stalkers. He did manage to get some Colossi, but he's seeming awfully low on the food. We did get the probe transfer up. Our opponent has a way late expansion. You're starting to notice there's a pretty decent amount of interaction in this game, right? It's not quite as goofy and straightforward as the last game that we saw between Tristan and Nickelfur, whatever that guy's name was. There's sort of this perpetual, constant stuff going on. And it's okay to write down in your head as many of those as you so desire. Let me give one brief example of a little interaction that we just saw. Here's something that you can look at and say, when stalkers are engaging an army with zealots at the front, you can almost always run and shoot and do a little bit of free damage. There's an interaction, and suddenly I've given an exact method to a little tiny moment. I've said anytime he has a big robo army with a lot of zealots, try to hit with the Blink Stalkers on the zealot side to get some free shots off. Ha! I have now taken a moment of interaction, one of those key moments, and sort of concluded something useful out of it. It's not looking so good for Hero, is it? It ain't looking so good. So one of the reasons that I think that this sort of key moment analysis is so absolutely ridiculously critical is that a little while ago, it was looking grim for Hero, right? Hero was about 40 food behind. Now it's looking a little bit better for Hero. In fact, Hero's probably going to be setting himself up in expansion soon. And it often can be quite deceiving if you pop in at a time like this. You look at it, and what your head says is, LiquidHerO did a little bit wrong because he is a little bit behind. Maybe that means that if he played a little bit better, he would be able to have won earlier on. The way I instead want you to think is to say, LiquidHerO may have gotten way behind, way ahead, way behind, way ahead. He may have done really good and really bad decisions in a way that wound him up being a little bit behind. And it's very important that I be able to identify those, because hell, if I can steal this style and just make it really kick-ass, I can start winning. Nice little Zealot warp in by next stream on Detectant based. An engagement that goes kind of really, really bad for LiquidHerO. Yuck. 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 Tries to blink down, doesn't manage to take that down, but upon losing everything, when you are 90 food behind, it is hard to come back. Cool. Now, we've gone ahead and we've looked through everything. So let's go ahead and just take some ideas from people about these key moments that ended up happening in the game. What are some really key things that you saw that we can go back and look at? Remember, we're looking for interactions, and they can be direct. They can be direct, which is micro battles, us attacking an expansion, us scouting things properly. They can be indirect interactions. He expanded and we didn't attack. This is something that we want to think about. It can be interactions we should have done. he expanded and we didn't end up attacking. Or our expansion was way late. These sorts of things. Alright. With this in mind, let's take some stuff. Yeah. Alright, you know what? Kolbsam says first blink into main. Alright, let's go ahead and write that down. First blink into main. Perfect! I'm done writing stuff down. I'm done. Keep it simple. I'm done writing it down. Now, see, Nomad Soul says blinking up to snipe Colossus and losing lots of stalkers. That's not as specific because that happened a whole bunch of times in the game. But I'll just go ahead and fill in details where I don't have them. Attempt to blink into main to kill 3 Colossus. Alright, cool. We're starting to get some of these things listed up. Alright, cool. Omnivert writes pylon block circa 90 some supply. We are going to look at that. Let me actually come back here. I would not label that as a key moment. Supply block at 90 supply. I'm just going to write it down. We're going to come back to that in a moment. It's important that we get those sorts of things out. Things like not expending Chrono Boost, another thing that I'm going to write down, would not label that as a key moment. Not expending L. Here's something. Yeah, like Protoplasma, indirect, late tech to Colossus. I'm going to reword that a little bit. I'm going to reword this a little bit and say final Colossus versus Colossus battle. Cool, cool. This is good. This is great. Let's take just one more. Just one more. Ah, excellent. First attack at the start of the game. You know what? I'll even bump everything down. First attack with 2 Stalkers, 1 Zealot at game start. Alright. So we have 4 big key moments. Now, I want to first note, let me actually pull all this stuff down so that way we can get sort of a, there we go, we can recenter everything. Notice that these are all actual interactions. The first attack with 2 Stalkers and 1 Zealots at the game start. The first blink into Nextreme's main to do damage. The attempt to blink into the main to kill 3 Colossus. The final Colossus versus Colossus battle. These are moments where we're actually like doing stuff to each other. Interlocking interactions. And things like these that I put stars on, these are not interactions so much. These are absolutely things that can go wrong. They're absolutely mistakes that you should identify and try to fix. However, I don't want you to think of these as the key interactions in a game or the key moments that causes wins or loses. They are things that can contribute to winning or losing. The way I want you to think about this is to say something like, hey, you know, the attempt to blink into the main to kill 3 Colossus, let's say it went poorly. Why did it go poorly? The answer might be that we got supply blocked at 90 supply, and we actually need to fix that. Or we might say this first attack with 2 Stalkers and 1 Zealot at the game start, that went poorly. Maybe the real underlying problem is that we should have been spending Chrono Boost. You see how I did that? I took these things that could go wrong and I ignored them. I literally pulled them, I pulled them out of my head. And then I looked at these key interactions where stuff actually went wrong, and then I used these things as explanations, sort of helping me get to the root of the cause, or the root of the problem. But again, I just want to make that clear one more time. You want to start with those interactions, and you want to see whether the interactions work well or work poorly, and then give an explanation for why it works well or why it worked poorly. And the big idea is when you're doing this and suddenly this happens in terms of your food or in terms of something. So Just to illustrate, it might be 100 food versus 100 food, and suddenly there's a battle, and it's 80 food versus 50 food. Huge differential will happen. Dead even at 100, really uneven at 80 and 50. It might be something like we're dead even at 100, and we have the same amount of gateways, and then we're dead even at 140 supply, and he has 6 more gateways than I do. Wow! We saw that change happen. So let's go ahead and start exploring through these one at a time. And if you didn't get the chance to give some key moment analysis, don't worry, because we're going to be doing a third game in part number 3. So again, first attack with 2 Stalkers and 1 Zealot at game start. Alright, cool. Well, let's just pop back to that period of time in our replay and see what went wrong. Or excuse me, not see what went wrong. First see if it did go right or wrong at all. You want to just study these key moments. So for instance, right here, Hero is checking over here to see if there's a pylon. I'm not going to give any value statements. I'm not going to give any yes, good, bad, no stuff. I want to just describe for the brief period of time. I want to see what Hero's status was before this engagement began. Before, looks pretty even. 2 gateways going down. Looks like we have some more stuff queued up. He has more gas. Yeah, you know, it's pretty even. I would label this as even. And then suddenly, we lose 1 Stalker, we lose 2 Stalker, and the unit's lost. It looks like we're doing real badly. Almost losing another Zealot. Now here's something kind of interesting that I want you to know. I haven't said whether something's good or bad. I haven't proposed any solutions. I want to note that I'm starting to see, hey, wait a minute. OGS Hero looked to be in a really awful position right when things got up his ramp, and then he snapped back and now he's pushing it down. I felt like the first half of that key moment went terribly, but the second half went quite good for us. So what went so badly about this? Well, our units were split up. Why was that? Well, we went to scout for a pylon, and these 2 units were caught off guard. So, alright, first attack with 2 Stalkers, 1 Zealot, a game start. Let's first note, it went poorly for us. Really poorly. It happened when we went to scout for pylons. And I will extend my notepad out just a little bit, so that way it's easier. So you know what the solution that I'm going to do is? Solution. Here's what I'm going to do. Don't scout for pylons at 5 minutes. 5 minutes seemed to actually be the key issue. We were scouting at a time when our opponent could very likely have some pretty scary forces outside our front. Don't scout at 5 minutes. Maybe scout a little bit earlier than that. Maybe scout at 5:45, or maybe wait till our second Stalker at 5:15. Don't scout for pylons at 5 minutes. Either scout at 4:45 with 1 Zeal, 1 Stalker, or wait for second Stalker at 5:15. Boom! Took something that went wrong. Gosh, I gotta stop doing that. I really gotta be careful with my scrolling. Yeah. Boom! Took something that went wrong. Shazow! Fixed it. Looked at that key analysis. Fantastic. Figured something out for that. Excellent. Excellent. I want to pretend that you had this happen to you. I want you to pretend. Visualize a game where you went out just to check for something and you lost a bunch of units. Maybe you sent 2 Marines out to kill an Overlord and you lost those. Maybe you sent these 2 Stalkers and Zealot out and you lost all those. I want you to think about how that feels. You get that, gugh. And by the way, I know this feeling. This feeling sucks, right? Your heart sinks, your face gets hot, and you just get this, that is such fucking horseshit, right? I know this. I know you get this, because I get this. Everyone gets this. Every single human being gets this. However, we managed to take that feeling and, wow, look at that, we have a solution. Instead of just reloading it up, reloading up another game, we simply fixed it. Cool. Let's go to the first blink stalker. Let's go through these a little bit faster. When did that first blink happen? Are these in order or out of order? I'm just starting to do things for whenever I want. Yeah. You don't have to do it necessarily in an exacting order quite yet. What you will end up noting at a point like this, so here comes the first, here comes the first round of blinks into the main, it looks like. Where it looks like we're just waiting for some more stalkers. Is that right, Hero? Yeah, that is right. Alright, cool. So again, key moment. Before, during, after. Before. Are we ahead? I don't really know that we are. We might be a little bit behind. During, we're going to do that. After, we're going to do that in a bit. The reason I just want you to be aware of the before is often what people will do is they'll take one single key moment and pin all the blame on that. For instance, oftentimes people will be like, shit, I lost so much in this blink attempt. That's the reason I lost the game. When in reality, if you look, they were already way the hell behind. Don't fall into that trap. Make sure that you can ask yourself calmly, in this pure state, am I ahead or behind? I feel like here's a little bit behind. So let's go ahead and look at how this first blink into the main ends up going. So far, so good. We haven't really taken any damage. Ooh, three into the main. Did we lose a stalker there? Yep. It looks like we lost one stalker. We ended up trying to kill some probes. Did we actually even kill that many? God, we are losing a hell of a lot. Ugh. 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 Oh. Ugh. Holy crap, did that go poorly. Holy shit. Oh my god, look at that. Oh god, we are way behind. Looking at food, looking at units lost. Units lost in an absolute sense, I don't think really means that much. You know, if you're like, oh my god, I've lost 1,700, you know, resources and units at this point in the game, that's quite bad. I don't think it means anything absolutely. But relatively, you know, comparing now to in a little bit, we're going to see he loses, I think, 2 probes. He's at 500. Yeah, that's all he loses. And meanwhile, it looks like here we lost 1,000. Went fucking bad. Alright, here we go. It went horrifically. Seemed to be, I don't know, immortals? Let's actually try to look for a reason. Why did that go so badly? Oh, Jesus, man, did that go horribly. Holy crap. Alright, well, what did we see? I mean, we saw the immortals. I mean, I don't think that this should be that bad. Ooh, I'm starting... Oh, well, we actually did see this pylon beforehand. I don't know if there was a good angle for us to really do that with. Blinking 3 stalkers into the main might be a little bit much, especially when he has immortals. It looks like we could have avoided it, so there was some miscontrol. But I think here, it's really hard for us to quite say that these 3 stalkers were really going to be guaranteed to do a lot of damage. God, we didn't even get that. Crap. Well, it's times like this when you need to propose a solution. If I had the time to really drill deep, I might be able to get something more specific. But let's go ahead and just propose some blunt, broad solutions. Here's solution number 1 that I have. Don't blink into a robo player's main. Or don't blink into the main of a player with tons of immortals. I don't think that... I think that's kind of a reasonable thing to say. I could alternatively say, don't blink in close to the ramp. Don't blink in close to the ramp. I think this is the one that I would want to do a little bit more. As an added caveat, I'd say only blink in with 1 to 2 stalkers. Cool. What I feel like was the issue in this entire interaction was that immortals are notoriously slow and clunky. When they're actually in the fight, they're sweet. I love immortals. I think they might be like my favorite unit in the game. They're just so great. But the fact that we're blinking close to the main means that he can push us back here, so suddenly these do no damage. And then he can immediately begin dealing with this threat. In particular, I'm also noticing heroes trying to pick away at the army. I don't think that's smart. So as another thing, no matter what you end up doing, try not to pick away at the army. Instead, pick away at buildings. Cool. Alright, cool. Pick away at buildings until he gets an expansion up. Then blink away. Alright, cool. Now notice what I did is it went horribly, and it seemed to be the Immortals that were the problem. If he's not really going Immortals, I don't see a reason to follow this exactly. Alright, cool. This is actually very useful, because often players will look at this engagement, they'll feel that it went horribly, but they'll do it every single time. Here's a proposed solution. Don't blink in close to the ramp. I actually prefer this. I think this is the solution that I would go to. Don't blink in close to the ramp. I would try to blink in from here, pick off this, and then if you tried to hit me, I'd run this way and blink down, and then run from the far side up and try to pick off another building. I'd be leery of engaging. What was our other thing that we had up there? Attempt to blink into the main to kill the 3 Colossus. Let's go ahead and find that moment. I can't remember exactly when it was. I feel like it was up here somewhere. Here it is. Okay. Let's do the before, during, and after. The before phase, I feel like, oh, look, it looks like OGS Heroes managed to deal a little bit more damage. He's sort of closing these gaps. But remember, we don't want to have any memory of what any other status is. We want to begin the key moment as though we just walked in the room and say, right now, are we behind? How did things go during it? What can we do afterwards? Sweet. So he blinks up, he kills 1. He kills 2. He can't even really kill off the 3rd. Holy crap. I actually feel like that went, again, quite horrifically. Let's see what LiquidHerO saw. He is aware that there's 2 Colossi here. I'm going to keep the health of these things open. I'm going to examine this quite slowly. God, they're so good against Stalkers. Huh. Wow, that went really poorly for us. I actually need to look through that maybe 1 or 2 more times, because I'm wondering how much damage these guys did from the low ground. Because really, it's just the Immortals that I think could change the... I really think it's just the Immortals that could really change the sort of the way this battle pans out. I think most of all it was the angle of the Stalkers, maybe? My gut would have told me to engage that in that exact same way every single time as Protoss. I would actually beg for opportunities to do that. Were our units too low on health? How did that go so poorly? Oh, how many units were stuck on the low ground? Was there a 4th one there? Oh, do those guys get eaten up? Oh, those guys got cooked. Oh, okay, that helps a lot. How many Stalkers were lost on the high ground? This probably, thus far, has been my favorite analysis of a key moment in this game yet, because I looked at it, and my gut told me that something was going wrong here, right? Something should not have worked out this poorly. So let's go ahead and I'm going to change my angle of this. I'm going to select these units. There should be 4 Stalkers, 1, 2, 3, 4 there on the low ground. Alright. So these are all our Stalkers that are on the high ground, right? It looks like we have 15. 15. We lose 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're losing a lot. Yeah! From 15 down to 7, we lost 8, and we killed 2 Colossi. Is that... Okay. Okay. Um. Okay, so I can tell you right now I won't be able to have time to do this because this second one is taking far too long, but I still think it's more useful to look at this one. I think it went badly. I want to come back here and I want to examine a lot. Our food is way low, but our opponent doesn't have an expansion up. He is about to, though. He's about to have another Colossus pop up. Before, I feel like we're a little bit behind. Right now, I'm trying to find out if we're way behind or just a little bit behind. That 4 food is tied up. If we get another warp in, we'll maybe be at 57-ish if we include those probes. We're behind in the probe count. Okay, so I would say it went fairly poorly for us. I think Colossi are just good, man. Actually, I don't think that this ground army contributed so much. We can do a couple of solutions to this. I think the first one is to be careful with blink angle when going for Colossus. We ended up leaving 4 on low ground to die. And I think that this is one of the biggest things, that people will just be engaging at the Colossus and not quite avoiding the damage from this. So I think that this is obviously something that needs to be done just in general. The other thing is maybe don't... If it's still on low base counts, don't engage, or don't try to snipe if there's 3+ Colossus? Let me see that one more time, alright? Like, my gut still tells me that that many Stalkers should be able to engage that many Colossi. How weak were these Stalkers? I mean, I know a lot of them have low health. Looks like a lot of them are low on shields. Wow. I still cannot quite believe, like, looking at this army from LiquidHerO and looking at how many Colossi are there, I can't quite believe that Hero came out that poorly at the end of that. So last but not least, here's a solution that I want to do. All right, I have some rules to help me with next time, but you know what? I want to get a buddy and test it out. That is the last thing that I want to end up doing. All the upgrades were at 0, 0, 0 in that battle. My intuition is telling me something that is not playing out remotely close on the screen, so you know what? I'm going to test it out. And this is why we go for those key moment analysis things, is because it helps give us direction. Remember, we say, what is it that was the big interaction? Did it go well for us or not? And what was the reason? And then what are some solutions that we can try to figure it out? But you know what? I can't figure it out by looking. I just can't figure it out. I could theorize all I want, but I just can't pop it out. I'm gonna want to play against Tristan, say, Tristan, have 3 Colossi sit on the high ground. I'm going to blink up there with 15 Stalkers, and we're just going to sit and attack. Okay, now I'm going to micro on this time. Okay, now I'm not going to micro, and I want you to micro. Okay, now let's both micro. Okay, now let's give you some units on low ground, like on Antigua Shipyard, and then let's play it out, and then we can start figuring it out and digging a little bit deeper. That went a little bit long. I don't care, because that was really good. I really like the way that panned out, so you know what? Let's do it one more time in part number 3. See you in a sec.